Hi guys, you're welcome to my short course this afternoon on sustaining continuous improvement. Today I'd like to share some few tips on how best you can sustain improvement over your desired duration of period. Sometimes there are some improvement that requires short period of time, while there are some that requires long period of time. Most instances, people often meet up with short-term improvement process. When it comes to a longer duration of improvement process, most times people fall behind and they rarely achieve their desired objective of starting the improvement process right away at the onset. So today I would like to share some few tips that would play a role. One thing you need to understand when it comes to improvement in any area of life is first you want to embark on an improvement with a literal plan rather than having a figurative plan. That is, we have instances where people will tell you, look, I'm working on improvement in this area, and you ask them, do they have a literal, do they have the process outlined, more like literal outline of it? They will tell you no. Basically they have the figurative steps towards making improvement over a continuous period of time. In as much as some people find it easy to navigate through imaginary process of plans, most people, or some people as well, find it challenging to have to sustain improvement process with a figurative plan, and thus they often lack or fall behind when it comes to achieving their objective. So if you fall into the category of people who cannot really sustain continuous improvement using figurative plan, it is advisable right away from onset you adopt the literal plan, literal outline plan, which actually gives you the opportunity to write out your objectives and the procedural steps towards attaining your desired goal at the end of the improvement process. So as soon as you're able to identify the channel, that is your planning methodology, either be it figuratively or be it literal, one thing you need to do is you want to categorize your improvement area. That is, which area of your life would you like to make improvement on? Or in which area of life would you like to make improvement? Is it spiritual aspect? Or perhaps it's career aspect? Let's assume you're looking forward to taking up a responsibility within your organization and you realize there is need for you to make improvement in certain area, perhaps leadership skills needs to be developed. Whatever it is that needs to be developed within your career, you have to categorize it under career. Let's assume you're adopting the literal approach of outlining your plans. You have to come up and write it out. In my career aspect, I need to make improvement. And aside that, we have the educational aspect. Should you be interested in improving your grades in school, or perhaps you want to ensure you pay more attention right in class, you want to categorize such improvement under educational aspect. And let's assume your relationship has been falling short in one way or the other. You want to as well identify the improvement areas and categorize it under relationship. We also have the health category, the family category, the finances category, as well as the emotional category. There are some people sometimes the emotional, they just felt there is need for them to make improvement in their emotional aspect of life, perhaps how they react to things, or perhaps how they display their annoyance and all of that, and they felt there is need for them to make improvement in such area. So to such ones, it is important to be able to categorize the improvement steps or the improvement procedures under the category emotions. So as soon as you're able to categorize your area of improvement, it is important to identify steps which you need to take. Let's assume I have emotion to be, let's assume I have career to be the category of my life where I need to make improvement. Then I would need to identify what are the skills, what are the things which I need to develop, and identify, outline those procedures one after the other. And as soon as I identify those procedures one after the other, it is important to have a stipulated time period which I'm working towards. And as soon as I'm able to do that, I want to give room for feedback. Because one thing about people who have often positioned themselves in the path of improvement but often fall behind, it's because there isn't much of feedback to see how best they're actually doing. Because, but when there are feedbacks, when you're able to ask questions in relation to your improvement, then you as well positioning yourself to be able towards achieving those desired goals at the end of the improvement process. So while you're outlining the steps towards attaining your improvement or your desired goals, it is important to have questions which you would always ask from, in form of getting feedback from whoever it is you're utilizing as your feedback channel. So feedback is another thing that's very important. So while outlining the steps, the basic steps towards your improvement, you want to as well have questions which you would ask from people or from those whom you would like to seek feedbacks from, so that they will be able to give you questions or answers to questions in relation to each of the process or each of the steps in the improvement process. Aside feedback, which entails you asking questions, it is important to be able for you to identify right away from onset your feedback channels. Who would you like to use as a feedback channel? Do you want to have someone who you can always ask as to how best you are making improvement? Let's take, for instance, you can have a mentor. That's what some people often does when they're trying to improve in any category of their life. They tend to have a mentor. You could have a spiritual mentor. If, let's take, for instance, you want to make improvement in your spiritual aspect of life. And when it comes to career aspect of life, some have often used their friends, most especially when developing skills, towards taking up a certain responsibility within an organization. Some have often used their friend or perhaps their line manager or perhaps their or any leaders within their organization to actually serve as feedback channels towards their improvement. Or let's assume you want to make improvement in your educational aspect. There are some students as well who have adopted the use of their lecturers or perhaps their teachers as feedback channels towards making improvement. And in your relationship aspect of life as well, you want to ask, use the other person, perhaps the person you are having a relationship with. You want to use such person as a feedback channel, or perhaps any other person within your family settings or within your friends. You want to use such ones as feedback channel. And let's assume in your health sector, in your health category aspect of life, you want to use people who are close to you, perhaps, or perhaps you could as well use your doctor. And to some people, most especially those who are trying to add weight, or perhaps they're trying to slim down, or perhaps they're trying to have to build up the body muscle sort of. They often use mentors or perhaps a coach or perhaps any friends. But it is important generally to have a feedback channel. And within family as well, let's assume there is need for you to make improvement within your family arrangement. It is important to have a feedback channel within the family as well. And in area of financials or in area of finances, it is important to have a feedback channel. So, or perhaps in your emotional aspect of life, perhaps you want to ask people whom you've been expressing your emotions towards how best they can give you feedback in relation to your improvement. But one thing is important, when you have a literal plan towards improvement and you have a feedback channel, you in one way or the other set yourself clearly in the path of improvement. And such feedback channels will go a long way in helping you achieve your desired goal at the end of the day. When you have two people, let's say A and B, A chooses to have his or her improvement process literally outlined, and B chooses to have his or her improvement process to be figurative. You realize that at the end of the day, the person with a literal process or literal plan would have would record more success as compared to someone who has figurative plan. And let's assume the person here, aside having a literal plan, also has a feedback channel, and while person B only based his improvement on figurative plan with lack of feedback channels, you realize A will tend to record much more success as compared to B. So this shows the importance of having your improvement process outlined and as well having your feedback channel in place. Aside that, it is important for you to have your improvement metrics. And coming up with your improvement metrics has to do with you ascertaining the point where you want to achieve, as in the objective of making improvement. As soon as you're able to ascertain the objective right away from onset, which we've outlined in the course of listing out your processing plan, it is important to have a gauge, that is, at what stage, or basically, what would be the metrics or the gauge for my improvement. Let's take, for instance, to those who might want to add weight or to those who might want to lose weight. The gauge will have to do with, okay, perhaps at the end of 1 week, I should be able to have 5 kg. And what they do is, let's say on Sunday, they have to weigh themselves and realize, okay, I've actually added the desired 5 kilograms. Or perhaps if they couldn't attain that 5, they attained 3 or 4, but basically that's a gauge. So in any area of life where you'd like to make improvement, it is important to have your gauge in place. So that's where the question comes, what determines your metrics? That is, what is the factor that determines your improvement? So you want to ask this question as well and determine at interval of times what your gauge would be like. And aside asking the question what in relation to your gauge factor, it is important for you to understand your why. That is, the why behind this gauge. Let's take, for instance, my objective at the end of the month is to be able to add 20 kilograms, or perhaps to reduce weight by 20 kilograms, or perhaps to add weight by 20 kilograms. Now, all I have to do is, I've been able to identify the gauge, that is, on a week, at every Sundays, I should be able to have 5 kg. And now, it is important for me to be able to identify my why. What happens if I do not attain 5 kilograms right here? What happens if I do not attain 5 kilograms here? What happens if I do not attain 5 kilograms here? What happens if I do not attain 5 kilograms here? That's where the why comes in. Then on the long run, I wouldn't be achieving my goal at the end of the month, which is to attain 20 kilograms. So it is important for you to associate, to understand your why behind each of the gauge, behind your gauge factor. So the objective right here is, this is the goal for the week. And if I do not achieve the goal for the week, I wouldn't achieve the goal for the end of the month. So on the long run, my improvement process or my improvement plan for the end of the month would not be realized. So I need to have the reasons behind my gauge factors. This is just an example, and in every other category of life, this can as well be implemented. Let's say in your educational aspect, in your relationship, in your health, in your family aspect of life, in your financial aspect of life, or perhaps in your emotional aspect of life. No doubt about the fact that having a gauge as well as the reasons behind your gauge would go a long way in determining how well you would record success in your improvement process. Another thing you need to have in mind when determining your improvement metrics is the when. That is, when would your gauge, how do you determine when your gauge factor will be checked? Earlier I mentioned at the end of, on every Sunday, I have to weigh myself to be sure that I'm meeting up with the required standard, that is my required goal for the end of the week, which cumulatively would result to success at the end of the month. So the time factor has a major role to play. Let's assume I do not set a time factor, which is perhaps Sunday, and I just choose to be making, eating enough food and without any time factor to check if I'm actually making progress. You realize at the end of the month, don't be surprised when I check my weight. Perhaps I would just have only added, let's say, 5 kilograms or less than that. But when there are time factors which you determine right away from onset, and you're able to as well utilize your feedback channel in relation to that time factor, you realize you will be able to record tremendous progress, and on the long run, you will be able to achieve your goal. Another vital question which is important in your improvement metrics is the how. The how has to do with how do you achieve this goal on the long run at the end of the month. I want to add 20 kg. How do I go about it? What are the foods which I need to eat? And how often would I eat those foods? Or what are the foods which I need to avoid? So those are the things that contribute to the process for 1 week, 2 weeks, the first week, the second week, the third week, and the fourth week. Let's take, for instance, in the first week, there are some foods which I actually ate, and those foods did not resulted in 5 kg addition to my weight. Then what I would need to do is I would need to check the foods again and see which other foods I need to introduce into my diet and which other ones I need to remove. So with that, you realize you will be able to achieve your goals at the end of the month. Yes, stage factor as well is very, very important. And one thing about stage factor is kind of similar to it's kind of similar to the time factor, but it basically helps you to realize, okay, at what stage are you in your development or in your improvement process. Here, you are at the elementary stage. Here, you are more like at the intermediary stage. And here, you are at the final stage. So determining the stage right away from onset and checking to ensure that you are meeting up in each of those stages would go a long way in helping you to sustain improvements on the long run. Let's assume on the first stage you realize you didn't really meet up, and you've actually realized, okay, the next 2 weeks will be the completion of another phase or the completion of another stage, sort of. What do you need to do, or what have you done here which isn't resulting in much more success? Then when you are able to understand that, you're able to prepare for the next stage of your improvement process until you get to the final stage where you will be able to attain the full goal or your full objective of placing yourself in the path of continuous growth or in the path of continuous improvement right away from onset. So I hope you find this short video or this short course very interesting. As a form of reminder, it is important for you to be able to adopt the use of literal plan outline, and as well ensure you ask questions in relation, or you determine questions to ask in relation to your feedbacks, and as well you want to have reliable feedback channels. And aside that, you want to determine your improvement metrics using the what, which serves as the gauge for your improvement, using the why, using the when, which determine your time factors, and as well how and where, which determine the stage where you might be at each instance of your improvement process. So thank you once again. Should there be any questions, just drop the questions down below. I would be glad to give response within the shortest time interval. Thank you.